Let's go to Replit and we're going to go into the projects. And I think the lab we're going to do today is called Monster Check, I believe. We'll see here in a second. Monster Check Ifs. Let's click on that. And let's look at the lab. I have the PDF uploaded here. And let's see if I can enlarge this so we can see it a little bit better. The lab was designed to teach you more about if statements, if-else statements, and if-else, if-else statements. Write a monster class that stores the name and size of a monster. Compare two monsters to see which is biggest and which is smallest. So here's some sample data right here. Here's some monsters and their size. And enter first monster's name. Tom, size is 2. Second one's Bob, and Bob's size is 4. So it says monster 1 is smaller than monster 2. And here, this one, if you have Sally 7 and Fred 2, monster 1 is bigger than monster 2. Now this one, monster 1 is smaller than monster 2, and monster 1 has the same name as monster 2. So we have to take care of all of that. Now I've given you some code in the main method already, and it's just inputting. So I thought I'll just give that to you guys. And we have enter name, enter size, and it goes into name and size. But then we create a monster. Monster 1 is new monster, and we're sending the class 2 parameters. So we're going to have a constructor with 2 parameters. And then we create monster 2, but notice that we don't have name and name 2 or name 1. It's not necessary because now we're going to create that monster with the same variables but with different values. So now we'll have 2 instances of the monster class, one for M1 and one for M2. Well, if we look at the output down here, we are printing out really the object, and so that is the toString. So let's go back to the main, and we're just going to print the 2 objects. So we have system out print line and monster 1, and system out print line monster 2. Now we're going to say if, now this is something different that we haven't done yet. We're going to say monster 1 dot is bigger, and that is going to be a method in the monster class, but we're going to send it the other monster. We're going to send it monster 2 as a parameter. And I don't think we've done that yet. And we're going to say if that is true. And in the code that the author has, he actually has if it's equal to true, I think just for kind of demonstration to show that we want to see if this is true. But that's what ifs check for anyway, so it's not necessary. Now, it's not that it's wrong if we do that. We just don't have to have that. So if that's true, we're going to do system out print line, and we're going to say monster 1 is bigger than monster 2. Then we're going to go if monster 1, if that is smaller than monster 2, then we're going to do system out print line monster 1 is smaller than monster 2. And I'll pause a little bit, let you catch up with this. Now, like I said, this is a little different than what we've been doing before. We've never sent an object that we created, an instance of a class, as a parameter. And I was excited to show you this one because it is something different that we haven't done before. If you need to pause the video to catch up, that's fine. The last if statement we have is M1 dot names the same. So the author said, well, let's check that also. And we're sending the object as a parameter. And the author says all of those double equals to true, but we don't need that. It's not necessary. system out print line, and we're going to say monster 1 has the same name as monster 2. All right, if you're not caught up with this, go ahead and pause the video, and when you catch up, hit play again. We're going to go over to the class now. Let's look at the class. We have private, we have an instance variable, the name, and an instance variable of an integer of how big. Now here is the constructor with those two parameters. And we say name is equal to n, how big is equal to size. So we need to make some methods here. And the first method we're going to make, because we're comparing two instances of this class, we need some getters. So we're going to go public string, and we're going to get name. So here's a getter. Hopefully this is sounding familiar to you, with getters and setters. And we do this, and then we kind of get away from it a little bit. Let's go public int get another getter, get how big. So we'll be able to get the name, and we'll be able to get the size. And we're going to return how big, because that's the name of the instance variable, and we didn't name it size, we named it how big. All right, well, here's the comparison. Public Boolean. Remember, we're seeing if this is true or false, and it's the isBigger method. And now here's the instance variable that's a little different. It's not an integer, it's not a string, it's not a Boolean, it is a monster. It is actually an object that we created. And now, if we're in the instance of monster 1, if we're working in this, monster 2 is the other instance that we have sent to this class as a parameter. And then we're going to say if how big, which is the current instance variable, if that is greater than the other one, and we're going to get how big in the other instance. Remember, other is the other one. If that, we can't compare how big to how big because that would be the same variable. But we can compare the current how big, this is the current one right here, the current how big, to the other how big, but we got to use a getter to get that other instance. Now we can compare those two, and we can return true if that's true. Otherwise, we're going to go else, ooh, that was weird, else, enter, there we go, return false. Now you can't have return statements all in if statements, but you can have a return in an else. And Java will know that that's actually reachable. Now we're going to do something very similar with is smaller. So we're going to go public Boolean is smaller. And we're sending the monster object as the parameter so that we can compare the two instances of this class. So we're going to go if is bigger, and then we're going to go other. All right. If that's true, we're going to return false, and else. I did it again. Else, enter, return true. And if you got to catch up with this, go ahead and pause, and we will just press play when you're good to go. Oh, and by the way, we just did the reverse of isBigger. So we actually called the isBigger here and just did the reverse. So if isBigger is if that's true, then we're just going to say false for smaller, because it's the opposite. All right, let's finish this up. We need to go public Boolean names the same. And again, we're sending the second monster as the parameter, which is super cool. And we're going to have to actually do that later when we're doing methods with when we override the dot equals method. So we're going to return name equals other, dot equals other, get name. So now here's what we're doing. We're saying, well, we're going to return either true or false. Does it equal or does it not equal? And this is the current name. This is the current instance variable of name up there. And we're going to compare that to the other instance of name. But we have to get the get name. That we got to do the getter to get that name from the other instance. Now, the last thing we need to do is the toString, because remember we printed the object. So we're going to go public string toString and return name plus, and we'll have a blank space, plus how big. And that'll be the toString. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to catch up. We've completed the class. We've completed the program. I'm going to run it and see if I made any typing errors or anything. And if it runs, that'd be awesome. Looks like I have a lowercase on main Java 29. Main Java 29. I need a capital S. And let's see if it runs now. Oh, wow, that's awesome. What if we go and 5... And, oh, how come it does enter first size? It skipped right over that. What is going on with that? Oh, I put in the size as well. And 3. That's my mistake. Monster 1 has the same name as Monster 2. Oh, so it grabbed that 5 right away. Let's run it like we're supposed to. And 5 and 3. Monster 1 is bigger than Monster 2. That's great. So let's run it again, and we're going to go John 7 and Andy, let's go 3. So Monster 1 is bigger than Monster 2, and then the names are not the same. So it looks like this is running. Looks like it's running just fine.